guys, it's Martin from Voyager Project here again with Quest for Tone, episode 5. Now in this episode we're going to be looking at microphones and microphone technique and all that kind of stuff. So just a few things before we begin. Obviously we're looking at studio microphone technique, although some of it does apply to live. Now I'm playing through my live rig, my new rig. If you've seen my rig demo from a couple of weeks ago, then you'll kind of know what's in there. But I'll explain as I go through different sounds. What I've got in terms of microphones is in my ISO boxes. I have on each speaker cab I have two Audix i5 microphones that are merged together in a Palmer Sigma microphone merge box. So there's one that's close to the centre of the speaker and one a little bit further out, and I use these for live too. What I find is that it gives me a much sort of broader sound than just using one microphone, because I get the bright sound of the microphone close to the speaker. It's basically just where the dust cap meets the cone, and then the other one is just an inch and a half, 2 inches further outside of that, about halfway up the cone itself. They're lined up directly in line, pretty much touching the grow cloth, so there's no phase issues between the two, and it gives me a really well-rounded sort of sound with warmth and bite. So they're the mics I also use live, and they are mounted on amp clamps, which are very cool little units that you screw a little base plate into the bottom of the speaker cab and you just slide the clamp in and it works perfectly every time. Really useful bit of kit, not expensive, saves tripping over microphone stands, saves having to carry extra microphone stands, saves just any kind of positioning things. Every time I put my mics on my cabs, they're in the same place. The next microphones I have on the speaker cab are some SE Electronics R1 ribbon microphones, which are recently discontinued, so I got them for an absolute steal. And it's a stereo pair, but it doesn't matter because I'm using them not as a stereo pair for drums or anything, but just one on each guitar cab. And they're kind of oriented at a slight angle, basically so that the sound pressure doesn't hit the ribbon full on, so it should extend the life of the ribbon. If you ever see a picture of a Royer 121 or anything, it's usually at a slight angle, either tipped slightly downwards or slightly upwards from the vertical, and that's exactly the same thing. Ribbons are very fragile, so if you have them sort of square on, then just the sound pressure from the microphone can stretch the ribbon and make it pretty much useless. So that is sort of on the other side of the speaker from the i5s, and roughly again in line, it's a couple of inches back from the speaker, and it's again where the dust cap meets the cone, and that's a really warm sounding microphone. On its own it would maybe not be useful for all things, but it gives a lot of warmth, a lot of body to the sound. And then finally, a foot or so back, I have a Rode NT1A microphone on each speaker, which is a bright sounding condenser microphone. Requires phantom power, a little bit fragile, not the best things for live, although they're reasonably rugged for live use, but certainly in studio, really versatile. Great vocal mic as well, great overhead mic for drums. A little bit bright, lacking a little bit in body for guitar cab on its own, but that blended with the ribbon microphone gives a really great versatile sound. So what I'll do is I'll play through a number of sounds, and as I'm going through, I will just put the i5s on, and then just the ribbons and just the NT1s, and then sort of combinations of the two. So if I go to a fairly basic clean tone, in this case I've got both of my tweakers on and blended. It's kind of really clean Vox sound, and just a very slightly pushed Marshall sound from the two tweakers. In front of the amp, the only thing that's turned on is an exotic EP booster, and then in the loop the only things we've got going on other than some noise gate is I've got a pair of carbon copies, one pan left, one pan right to the two speakers, just to give a bit of stereo width. So this is it. I'm playing Snowy, single coil mode, both pickups on. Helps if the guitar's turned on. So as you can hear, that's really clean, just a little bit of echo, nothing else going on. Now, if I turn off the microphones other than the i5s, then you'll hear the kind of live tone I get, and that gives something like this. Moving on to the ribbon microphones on their own. And then the NT1s on their own. And finally, this is the NT1s and the ribbon microphones together. You'll hear the warm sound it gets, coupled with the bite from the condenser. Okay, so if I switch to humbuckers, which obviously gives me a little bit more output, so it just slightly breaks up, bridge pickup. That was all three microphones. Back to the i5s on their own. Ribbon microphones on their own. NT1s on their own. Finally, NT1s and ribbons together. So hopefully that's sort of given you some kind of idea of the different microphones on a clean sound. Now let's add a little bit of drive to it. First I'll kick in the full tone catalyst pedal. So I've got this set to a fairly low gain, kind of treble boosted kind of sound. Again, I'm on the bridge pickup at the moment. So i5s. Ribbons. NT1s. T1s and ribbons together. Again, it's what I normally use for recording. Let's switch to the neck pickup, play something a bit more lead. What I'll do is I'll just roll the volume back on the guitar a little bit as well, just so you'll hear how the pedal cleans up. So from okay, boring bit of blues, but there you go. I5s. Ribbon mics. Condensers. And condensers and ribbons together. Back up to full gain. Okay, going from the Catalyst to the full-tone OCD, it's just, I've got set to just a little bit more gain, a little bit more meat to it, kind of classic rock rhythm sound. And again, I5s. Ribbon mics. Condensers. And condensers and ribbons together. And if we wanted anything more than that, let's go to an overdrive sound. I'll switch on one of my Keeley DS1s instead. Let's go for this one. So I5s again. Ribbon microphones. Condensers. Ribbons and condensers together. finally, just a kind of bit of lead sound. So I5s. Ribbons. Condensers. And finally ribbons and condensers once more. Okay, so hopefully this video has given you some sort of idea of kind of the path I took when I was choosing which microphones to use for recording in particular. So my default go-to these days is the ribbon microphones, the R1s from SE Electronics, and in partnership with the Rode NT1A condenser microphones. What I usually will do, because these days with computer recording we can record as many tracks as we want, I will also record a track of the i5s, which I will use. It's kind of there as a backup, and sometimes it may be that gets used if I want a more kind of middly cutting kind of sound. Sometimes if I want something really nice and mellow, it's just the ribbons. If I want something very thin and twangy sounding, I'll just use the condensers. So having the flexibility of recording the 3 tracks of each amplifier just really gives you a tonal advantage, if you will. So there we go. I hope that's been of interest and of use to you. As I said, live we're looking just at the i5s. I've tried other microphones live, tried a lot of other microphones live. I've used the Shure SM57, which it is fine, but it just lacks a little bit of the sort of sheen that I get from the i5. Other than that, I mean, it's a great microphone. I have lots of them. I use them for toms and stuff in the studio as well. And if I ever need to hammer a nail into the stage, they're tough enough to do that with, which I wouldn't necessarily try with an i5. I've also used the Shure Beta 57As, which sound great, but they're a lot more expensive than the i5s. I've only got 2 of them, and I like having the 2 mics on each cab. So that kind of gives me the option there. The other microphone that I have tried, I don't have any of at the moment, is the Sennheiser E606, 609, the kind of flat lollipop type microphone, which you can pretty much sit on the guitar cab. Now when I was playing in a metal band, when I was playing in Fallen Angel, and I was using Laney 212 cabs, I was using them all the time. I could just sit them in front of the cabs, they worked great. But they kind of had a focused sort of mid-rangey punch which cut through great live. Didn't really like the tone of them for recording, so that's why I'm not using them these days. They went on to someone else who I hope is making better use of them than I was. Okay guys, so this has been Martin and Cliffe from Voyager Project with episode 5 of A Quest for Tone. Sorry it's been so long for this one. As you may be able to tell by the rather ugly looking white wall, we're redecorating the studio at the moment, so things are a little bit kind of in transition. So I'm kind of a temporary setup in here. So yeah, hopefully things will get back to normal soon, and there'll be lots more videos appearing. But until next time, take care, and I will see you soon.